My jock son pulled a prank on an autistic girl, and I'm about to unleash hell.
I'm not mad at it.
Oh, yeah?
I say unleash it.
Oh, I thought you were saying about the prank. I, 48 female, have a son, Jack, male 19, and a daughter, Alyssa, female 18, and I'm married to Tom, male 50. Tom is Alyssa's father, but Jack's father is my ex-husband, Dan. Dan and I had a pretty ugly custody fight, and he lives in New York while we live in Texas. Over the years, Dan has unsuccessfully tried to get Jack to move in with him. It wasn't easy to fight him off because he is a very successful lawyer. Never get in a custody battle with a lawyer, pulling every trick in the book.
I'll make them pay.
Jack is a pretty popular kid in school. His friends on the wrestling team came up with a prank for him to ask a heavily autistic girl who had a crush on him to the prom as a joke and for him to show up wearing a gorilla suit. That is low class, Jack.
Oh my God.
Jack originally said no, but the wrestling team raised a fund, which got to be somewhere north of $800 for him to do it, and they paid for the gorilla suit. Jack agreed.
Who is funding this? Who?
The wrestling team.
Who?
If it matters, this is very out of character for him. Jack, but come on, you're better than that. After the prom, I was looking around on Instagram and saw pictures of him in the gorilla suit and was surprised that he didn't take his girlfriend, Jess.
Why not go with her?
Let's piss off both people. After reading the comments, I learned what happened. To say I was furious doesn't even do it justice. I woke Jack up as soon as I saw it and screamed at him until my lungs gave out. Then when Tom heard what was going on, he joined in. Tom and Jack have never gotten along. I can't prove it, but I suspect Jack's father, Dan, has a hand in that. Jack told Tom to F off, I'm talking to my mother. So we took away all of Jack's electronics, his phone, and we had paid for a car for his graduation present. Because of his prank and his disrespect to Tom, we instead gave it to Alyssa.
Hell yeah, I love that.
We also forced him to give up the $800 and we gave it to his date and made him write a letter of apology. He was also grounded for a month and we canceled his 18th birthday party. They came down hard, but honestly deserved.
It's what he deserves.
When Jack's birthday came, there was a knock on the door. It was Dan and he had suitcases. Tom said, "What is this?" The custody agreement says you don't get him on his birthday. Dan just looked past Tom and said, "Hey kid, I'm here for the jailbreak." He then pointed at the Mustang and said, "Hope you like Fords. You can practice driving your new car on a road trip back to New York. Let's take a detour to NOLA." What's NOLA?
New Orleans.
The two of them were laughing, high-fiving, and backslapping, and they just ignored us as we tried to intervene. The only time Dan acknowledged me was to look me in the eye and say as cold as ice, "Checkmate."
What is this, a movie? I hate this guy.
And then Jack yelled as they were driving off, "F off, Tom!" Since then, Jack has gone totally no contact with me. He talks a little bit to Alyssa, and from the little he does tell her, he's doing well, and Dan is giving him the royal treatment, bringing him to steakhouses, Yankees game, and just giving him outright cash. It's almost been a year. I'm going crazy thinking I've lost my son. So am I the a-hole? And there is an update, but first, what do you think of this whole situation?
This Dan guy is a piece of work. He literally is like rewarding his son for like the worst behavior possible. I feel like the kid hasn't learned.
He did something pretty bad, and he got some pretty bad consequences. And then now Dan's just like, "F it, bro. Let's go to the steakhouse." I just feel so stupid. I know Dan. He has been waiting years for an opportunity like this, and I handed him the perfect storm. I'm not proud of it, but I did not treat Dan very well towards the end of the marriage. To be clear, I never cheated on him, but he has hated me ever since. I don't know how I'm going to make next month's mortgage. Dan is a very high earner, so it was a big check. He can actually go after me now for child support, and my lawyer tells me he's already filed the paperwork for that.
Stop.
At the time of the divorce, I won a very high household income split. It was good for me back then since he had to pay me. Now I have to pay Dan my portion of that very high number. So I get a double whammy of losing the checks I was getting, and now I have to write big checks his way. Okay, there is another update.
Oh my God, I'm not ready. Sam, you know we talk about a lot of really hard situations on this podcast.
Oh, baby, the hardest.
And you know, Sam, that's not the only thing that we need hard in this world.
Fellas, if you're trying to play a little game of hide the zucchini and you want that zucchini to be nice, firm, and strong, I think you're gonna want to hear about our next sponsor.
We are working with Blue Chew, ladies and gentlemen. Blue Chew tablets. It is the best option to get your wiener stiff.
And you might be like, "Oh, I don't need it." But hey, You never know until you try. You could already be Arnold Schwarzenegger, but what if you were Superman? What if you were Tom Brady throwing spirals every freaking day in the bedroom?
That's right, guys. Blue Chew wants you to have better sex.
And I do too, personally.
We want your dongs rock hard. Discover all your options at bluechew.com. Just chew it and do it, baby.
And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code OKOP at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. I'm saying like free, like actually free. That's bluechew.com. Promo code OKOP to receive your first month free.
Come on.
Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And I just want to thank Blue Chew one more time for sponsoring this podcast and making the hard things hard and our life easy.
Oh, yes. Back to the episode.
I reached out to Dan to see if he would be willing to consider brokering peace between me and Jack. About a week later, I got a response telling me to meet him and Jack at a cafe in Manhattan. He arranged a 6 a.m. flight and put me in a dodgy hotel in probably the most dangerous neighborhood in New York City. I arrived and saw Dan, Jack, and Jack's girlfriend, Jess, and his friend from a past firm, Jonathan. I noticed Jess had an engagement ring on her finger. Jonathan said Jack has a claim against me for stealing $840, and until that is resolved, I am not to contact him, but to only contact Jonathan. I told Jonathan that's money his friends paid him for the prank that I gave to the girl. Jonathan said he was aware of the circumstances, but nonetheless, it wasn't my money, and under the law, it was theft, and Jack has a legal claim against me. I said I don't care if it was the law. Jack had no right to that money, and they can sue me if they wanted. Jack said, you locked me up in my room like a prisoner for a month, took the car bought for me with dad's child support money, took the money and berated me for hours on end. Unless you're going to give me the car, this is the only thing you can undo. You said you wish we could have handled it better, so here's your chance. Or is that just bullshit lip service? Jack, come on.
Oh my God.
I told him I was sorry, but I can't do it. Jonathan then gave me a cease and desist letter telling me to not contact Jack and to address all communication to Jonathan. Then Jack and Jess left, and I asked Dan if he and I could talk for a minute. I asked him if he actually brought me here to humiliate me, and he said actually no, he didn't. He brought me here so I could humiliate myself.
Bro.
He'd actually worked very hard to get Jack to the point where he'd be hoping to talking to me again if I were willing to back down just a little. But since he knew that if I had to choose between my indignation and my own son, that I'd choose indignation every time, just like I did in our marriage. I asked him why he'd put us all through that. He said it was because part of him wondered if I'd ever learn to pick love over anger. He bet his future that I wouldn't when he divorced me, so he had to see for himself how it actually turned out all these years later. That is some maniacal bullshit.
I am just in complete disbelief right now.
And all because like OP was just trying to do the right thing. I asked him if Jack was just a pawn in his game. He said no. If I actually would have picked Jack, he'd be with me now, and there would have been nothing anyone could have done to stop it. But instead, my indignation over a stranger was more important to me than learning to move on with my son. I asked him, what about the girl? He then said, I hope she'll be a wonderful daughter to you since you lost a son for her. I told her I don't know the girl. So then he said, sounds like a bad trade, and left. Also, I'm apparently not invited to Jack's wedding. Dan reversed the polarity on the child support, and I'm now a few months behind in the mortgage, and the hole gets deeper and deeper. I placed my house for sale on the market. I'm just at wit's end.
OP, I'm so sorry.
Wow.
I am so sorry.
Dan feels like an evil mastermind.
He is
genius.
he is literally Voldemort, bro.
It seems like he is using his son as a pawn. He's trying to get revenge.
This guy thinks he's like Wolf of Wall Street, like whatever,
divorce.
Getting back. Yeah,
the Wolf of Wall Street of custody and divorce. Like, I'm very curious. Do you think OP's the a-hole here? Do you think Dan's the a-hole? Do you think Jack's the a-hole? I would love to know what you guys think, but John, what are your thoughts?
Dan is like 10 million% the a-hole. The son is also absolutely the a-hole, but one thing I will say is his father is probably like in his ear. He's still 18. He's still impressionable.
I think that's a wrap on that one. Let us know what you think.